the majority of people in this country, I believe, would, support abortion up to a certain point, and they do believe that there need to be restrictions upon it. So I know that there are people there who understand that this cannot be, extreme. But as I'm thinking about it on a cultural level, the fact that just in the last few years, people getting so pro-abortion, they are so angry about this issue that they just take it to the extreme, that they are the media, and I think that the media, is a lot to blame for this, because they just stoke this fire over and over again. Yeah. And so I put a lot of the blame on them, but it is, creating this entire culture of people that, whether intentionally or unintentionally, are becoming so just angry and pro killing something. And it's how did we get here from saying, I just want autonomy, to now the majority of the rhetoric that comes out about this is pro-abortion. It's like the Jessa Duggar story that just happened a couple of weeks ago, where she had a miscarriage, and the 10 media outlets that covered it all said that it was an abortion. It was it wasn't. You just saw this woman crying on YouTube for 18 minutes about her miscarriage. How it was a missed miscarriage, and she had to have a D&C to have the fetus removed because she did not pass it naturally. And you're saying that because she did that, it's an abortion. It was not. And they're she's lying about it. It's so you're using this story, twisting somebody's personal experience for your agenda. And it's that's where I had a major problem with it.
Sure.
Because then it doesn't seem genuine. So I saw a lot of that at school. I saw, my sorority sisters who were on abortion number 2 because they weren't on birth control, and just saw it as kind of a backup plan. Oh yeah, it's fine. I'll just use it as birth control. And then the kicker for me was learning that my dad wanted me to be aborted. And that was my parents' marriage, by the time that I was conceived, was already over. My mom knew that she wanted a divorce.
Wow.
She stayed because of me, and we can argue whether that was a good thing or not a good thing, and we talk about that a lot, about what that would have changed in my childhood and that sort of thing, and I'm, happy with how things turned out. But
how did you learn about that? That seems like a tough
Yes, so that was never told to me,
hear.
but I was calling my mom about abortion, and I was I'm just so conflicted right now, because I was this is something I could never do. I know that I could not. I know that it's morally wrong, and we were going back and forth, and my mom is incredible at showing both sides of it. And so she would argue it, kind of play devil's advocate, and she would argue it from, the perspective of the mother. She would argue it from, overprotection of the unborn child. All of this would go back and forth. What makes the most sense? I mean, and this is something she's changed her opinion on a lot, because she used to be pro-choice as well. But I mean, back and forth, hours of talking about this, of I just don't, it's such a complicated issue that deserves so much empathy and so much grace, and I think people on both sides of the political aisle just do not give it that. There's some people on the right as well who, villainize mothers who have had abortions. I'm that's not freaking productive either. And there are so many people who literally do not think that they have another option. It is our job to show that there is another option, and to amplify, the pregnancy centers and, the resources that are available to you, because they, outnumber abortion clinics. They actually, on paper, they do, and, you can have these resources. And so, anyway, that's just a whole aside, but we would go back and forth, and I was I just don't know where I land, and I was really torn up about it. And she was I'm going to, be very personal with you, and she was when, we found out that I was pregnant, Mike wanted you to be aborted. And she was we knew our marriage was over. This wasn't obviously planned at all. And he was I want you to make an appointment and go. And she was that totally changed my mind, because she said, I had not even considered that this would impact me personally. I was a mother of 3. That would never be a concern of mine. And she said, having a life inside of me and being told that I would end that. She was after going through multiple pregnancies and in that moment feeling, I knew that that was never anything that I could do. And I think then her perspective shifted, because for her it had always been about the rights of the mother. And she was this is somebody that, is the most vulnerable person in our society, who literally has no autonomy, that is fully dependent on this other person. And I think that is where her perspective shifted. And for me, making it very, very personal, it was just okay, that's, it did a lot.
Yeah. Don't you think saying that, though, would automatically push you to one side? That you can't get more personal than that.
I don't think so, because a lot of people will say, they've had an abortion and they still support it. I was watching a video at one point, and a girl was yeah, my parents almost aborted me. I wish that they did. It probably would have been better for my mom, and that kind of thing. So I know that there are people who have different responses, and maybe they are already predisposed to that opinion.
That's fair.
But as somebody who was already predisposed to that pro-choice opinion, it was interesting that that's just flipped me over.
Do you
But I
wish
also,
you hadn't heard that?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Because I think it gave me a lot more empathy for my mother, for what she was dealing with at the time with my father. It obviously created another fraction with my dad's and my relationship. That's water under the bridge now, and we've talked about it, and he would never have, suggested that now. And he came from a place of fear and anger and, that sort of thing. But I'm glad that I did, because it gave me a greater perspective about, the way I was raised, the dynamic. I've had a lot of confusions, with my relationship with my dad, and I just didn't understand a lot of stuff. And I think that, as I got older, the transparency that my mom, gave me about my family and being able to, I wasn't really shielded from a lot. And some people would say that that was a bad thing, but I think that it forced me to grow up quickly, but it also, I knew what to expect in my family. I understand why I am the way I am because of my family. None of that was hidden from me. So no, I'm not upset that I learned that.
Got it.
Yeah.